Hi there. I want to do a quick impression of the 41mm Rolex Submariner no date that I purchased recently. I've been wearing this for a few days and there are a couple of good things and bad things I want to share with you. This is not going to be a video of the specs on the watch. There are plenty out there for you to entertain yourselves with. But I want to show the people who are new to Rolex, who have never purchased a Rolex, but are probably on the wait list to get one. And I was one of those folks who wanted to get one, but never had the fortune to come in contact with a Rolex sports model. And I think there are probably a lot of people out there. So just want to do a quick impression for those of you out there who just kind of want to know what it's like to wear these watches. So the first thing I realized when I came into contact with the Rolex sports model is how good the finishings are. So most noticeably, the bracelet of this new Submariner is all brushed, but as you run your hands across the bracelet, you realize how smooth it is, and that's how detailed and finely finished these oyster steels are. So that's one area that you realize the quality that Rolex put into its products. So you have the 3-link oyster bracelet with brushed finishings on the top and the back, with polished side finishing on the links. I like the all brushed finishing instead of these polished center link because, you know, as with anything polished, it catches those fine hairline scratches more easily. I also like the fact that this is a tapered bracelet. I used to think the tapered bracelet was just part of a design element, but now that I've been wearing this, I realize there's some actual reason behind it besides just the looks, but there's a function where it makes it lighter, but also more importantly, I do believe it wears nicer and more comfortable than those bracelets that I have that are not tapered. For instance, I have Omega bracelets that are just not to the same comfort level as these Rolex bracelets. And then the other thing that adds to the quality and comfort of the bracelet is the glide lock on the sub. I've never owned anything with these functionality, and having had this on the Submariner, it really makes all the difference. So as you know, your wrist would change size throughout the day, with it being colder or warmer throughout the day. And bracelet has never been very comfortable for me anyway because of that. But with the actual glide lock, you have these links here that you just pull down and move smoothly the side of the bracelet 20 millimeters either way or both ways total. And you can adjust it, micro adjustments here to make it comfortable for you at any point of the day. And I do that a couple times a day to make it comfortable. It really makes all the difference with the glide lock. Highly recommended, and it's definitely worth it. The other thing about this watch that I like is the bezel action. It's 120 clicks, so it's very, very smooth, buttery, and you can hear the ratcheting. I definitely like the 120 clicks over the 60 clicks on, for instance, my Omega watches. The knurling on the side of the bezel, it also is very well made. You run your fingers across it, it does not feel harsh. And you could just tell, even though these are very pointed edges, but they're polished to an extent that they are very smooth and finely made. Now inside, you have a new movement, the 3230 with 70-hour power reserve versus the old 48. So that might be something that interests certain viewers out there. The other thing that I noticed as I put my hands on this watch the first time was how thin the case is. I was not expecting it to be this thin. I have other dive watches and they're all thicker than this, so that kind of came as a surprise to me. The closest watch in comparison to my collection would be the Omega Seamaster 300 meter, and that's actually thicker than this, so I was pleasantly surprised. It makes it very versatile. You can dress it up and put on your dress shirt, and it still fits very comfortably underneath your sleeve. The weight of the watch is 5.5 ounces. It actually weighs the same as the Air King, which I would assume is the same as a Milgauss, since it uses the same case and movement inside. So even though some people might complain about the discomfort of wearing a Milgauss or an Air King throughout the day because of the heft, surprisingly they weigh the same. Because I have an Air King, I weighed them and they're the exact same weight. But I will say the Submariner most likely will wear a little bit more comfortably because it's a thinner profile, it's a thinner watch, and so again, the Rolex is very comfortable to wear throughout the day. I really don't notice it. Some things I don't like about the watch, I have two complaints. The first one is I believe the 904L steel makes it more scratch prone. I've already started picking up some scratches on the bracelet, and I've never had those issues so early on with my other bracelet. So I believe it has to do with the watch itself and the material itself. And lastly, I think the new movement makes the rotor sound very loud. So I'm going to try to see if you can pick it up. I don't know if you heard that, but as you move, you could definitely hear the rotor inside spinning. I've never had any other watches making the rotor spinning sound that obvious. I have the Air King, and I did the same thing with the Air King, and the sound is very muted, versus here it's so much louder. So for something that, you know, costs almost $9,000, I was not expecting that. But I'm sure it doesn't have much to do with the quality of the watch, but then again, just wasn't expecting to hear that from a $9,000 watch. All right, well, anyway, so those are my key impressions from this watch. I definitely recommend it. I think it's worth the money if you're looking at Rolex. It keeps its value. I definitely have more good impressions on the watch than the negative impressions. And when I picked it up, the first thing I thought was just quality. So I'm gonna go and stick with my first impressions. So there's a lot to like about this watch, and I definitely recommend it. If you're in a wait list, keep going, stay strong, and you will be happy when you pick up your watch. Anyway, if you liked the video, please click like and subscribe. Thank you so much.